I'm meant to be writing an article about journaling, and it's all about the ways in which journaling can help us in challenging times. I've been putting off writing this article for a couple of days now, and I'm really meant to be writing it right now. But then I just felt drawn to come and talk to you. It's been a few weeks since last season of the podcast, and it kind of just feels like now is the time to be coming and sharing some reflections and opening up this new season. Welcome to the Henny Flynn podcast, the space for deepening self-awareness with profound self-compassion. I'm Henny. I write, coach, and speak about how exploring our inner world can transform how we experience our outer world, all founded on a bedrock of self-love. Settle in and listen and see where the episode takes you. I have absolutely no idea how long this episode is going to be. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 15 minutes, it might be an hour, who knows? Unlikely to be that long, I guess. But the topic, oh my goodness me, I've got so many gorgeous ideas of things to explore in this season, and in fact so many that they'll sort of splurge out into next season too. I've also got some really wonderful guests that I have either already recorded the conversations with or have lined up to speak with over the next weeks, months. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some of those conversations with you. But the thing that has been sort of, just like nibbling at my mind over the last few days, and I think maybe this is what has sort of slightly got in the way of me writing this journaling article, actually, has been this idea that I am calling the Ibiza Illusion. So if you've been a long time follower of this podcast, yay, it's so lovely that you've stayed the course. How wonderful that here we are, still season 14, I think we must be. You'll know that I have had some incredible experiences on retreat in Ibiza, working with some astonishing practitioners. I have been gently held as I've gone through some sort of quite painful processes, what I would call the breaking of the carapace, some of the barriers that I had erected around myself, around my heart, maybe would be a better way of saying it. And I am so incredibly grateful to those women who held that space for me. And I also have a sense that for many of us, this experience of the kind of wellness space often feels as though it's really only designed for the well. I put that in the most enormous inverted commas. And what I mean by that is that so often the imagery that we see associated with wellness practices, things like yoga or cold water therapy or acupuncture even, or the kind of work that I do, the sort of coaching and the parts work and the systemic work, often the imagery that accompanies these practices is of people who outwardly at least appear to be, thriving in their, sort of beautiful, glossy prime. And my sense is that this can often be the experience that people have of going on retreat too. This is a slightly I've realised, like, as I'm sort of sharing this, that these thoughts are a little bit confused in my mind. So you might have to kind of bear with me as I'm unravel them. But what inspired this idea of coming and talking about the concept that I'm calling the Ibiza Illusion is that we have recently, in fact, just a few days ago, welcomed our first private retreat guest coming to stay in our new retreat space, our dedicated retreat space. Now, I've had retreat guests here before, and they stayed in various places around the farm, and I've also welcomed people here to come and do work with me where they've stayed off-site. They've stayed in like an Airbnb or something nearby, and then just come to the farm to do the kind of deep one-to-one work with me. But this is the first time that we've had somebody doing what I imagined all those years ago when I first thought about creating a private retreat space, which is to come here, to stay in their own beautiful space, and to be able to do the deep work with me while we care for them, and bring all the food and really hold that space so that they can do their own deep work. Now, the temptation to create a kind of artificial version of reality for people who come here and do this work could be quite strong. Now, what I mean by that is that maybe that, Anton and I could very easily want every aspect of someone's experience here to be sort of quintessentially perfect. So the lawn is always mowed. So there's no remnants of, real life in eyeline. Tables are always like perfectly laid, like a sort of Instagrammable, depiction of perfection. But the reality is that somebody is coming here to our home. And so we have to be living. We have to also be experiencing our real life when somebody comes here. Because if we're not, then the experience of being here also isn't quite real. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? I kind of feel like it's like the distinction between going on a perfect holiday, maybe to Ibiza, where real life is separate. Real life is kind of left at the airport, and we simply experience this idealized view of what life could be during the week or the 2 weeks that we're away. And then we plummet back into real life when we land back at a rainy Manchester airport, for example. And what we're actually trying to do here is something that's very different from that. What we really, I think, like collectively, I say we, like as in you, me, everybody, what will actually serve us so much more is that when people come here, that you're able to experience calm and tranquility and a connection with the land and a deeper connection with yourself and deeper rest and a really sort of beautiful feeling of being integrated with the whole of your experience, and that it still feels like real life. So that then it's more available to us to be able to pick that experience up and carry it through into whatever follows the time here. And that is really where this idea of the Ibiza Illusion came from, because that's not the intention for this place. That it has this illusion of everything being ecru and perfect, and the sun is always shining, and I don't know, I'm wafting about that. Actually, when you come, you're coming to a real experience, a very deep and very true and very real experience, where the whole of you is present, just as the whole of us is equally present. And so this reflection, now sounds like an advert for our retreat space, which, hey, if it is drawing your attention, if something within you is saying, oh gosh, I could really do with some of that, then get in contact and let me know. But that's not really the purpose of being here today. The purpose of this conversation is more around, my sense is that there are so many experiences in our life where we might inadvertently be applying the Ibiza Illusion to that experience, where it's almost like we want to deny the slightly sort of messy, grubby, confusing, complicated aspects of life in order to only be in whatever it is that we perceive to be our version of perfection. Whereas actually, really what we want to be doing, I feel, is being able to hold both of these experiences simultaneously in the same space. And I think, even just as I say that, I think this really relates to something I've talked about on the podcast before, which is around this ability to hold space for the joy and the pain. So to be able to be somewhere incredibly beautiful, to feel a deep connection with the land, to be immersed in the beauty of the trees around us, and to still be able to hold the space for the part of us that might be grappling with a family issue or something that has happened in our past, and being able to hold that part so tenderly. We're not trying to push it out of our awareness in order to pay full attention to what we consider to be beauty. We're able to say, oh yes, this too is here. This too deserves a place within this beautiful space. Whew, gosh, really hope that made sense. And I've just seen it's only 12 minutes in, but that might be enough. Maybe that's enough for today. Maybe today's episode is a short one. I'd love to know your reflections. And I also, just really, really being super clear here that I love the Ibiza Illusion, by the way. And maybe this is part of why it kind of holds true for me. There are the times that I have spent there where I have stepped into a bubble of what has been, life-changing experiences, has been amazing. And it definitely has its place. That is for sure. And my sense is, as I mature, maybe as I kind of step more fully into myself, that we also have the capacity within us to hold it all. We don't need to push aside what we might call reality in order to experience deep transformation or deep revelation, deep insight. We can make room for it all. Anyway, let's see how that goes, shall we? And if this resonates, let me know if there's a thought that sparks for you from it. Maybe that will inspire another episode of the podcast. You never know. I love to hear from you. And I'm so glad to be back. I've said this before, but it's so interesting when I take these breaks from doing the podcast, how the energy then just starts, like Kundalini rising, the energy just starts to swirl inside me, and suddenly I am just drawn to speak and to connect. Maybe that's more apt word, drawn to connect. And I now feel completely and utterly ready to go and write that article. So thank you for that too. All right, my darlings. Oh, and last thing, if you haven't yet signed up for Everyday Compassion, then please do. I'm going to put a link in the notes. And in fact, if you follow me on Instagram, then there's also a link in my Instagram bio as well. But I'll put a link in the show notes. Everyday Compassion is something that I recently sent out into the world amidst much vulnerability and being scared. But anyway, it's out there. And it's an almost daily message of love. You can only access it through my email list. But you can just sign up just for that, or you can sign up and receive everything. It's entirely up to you. And if you would love to find out more about it, please click the link in the notes and or just come to the website, and there's a link on there too. And I'm going to do another episode actually about Everyday Compassion and what inspired it, what brought it into being. I'm so proud of it. It's funny, isn't it, when there can be a sense that we're not really allowed to say that, but I am really proud of it, and it feels very tender. And I hope that if you sign up for it, that you love it too. All right, my darlings, so gorgeous to be here with you and sending so much love. I send you a hug and a wave.